Starting it off here, I'd love to see some of the action that's happening around Grim Gate. I know Levin Mini were talking about this. Malabuka, triple contested. Zandy Turtle alongside Tripper and Fredoxy, who could be looking for a potential third party. So a lot of the action will be on the west side of the map. There's also, I believe, a triple contestation down at Fencing Fields. So we'll have to see who is going to be able to come out on top here, Jacob.
Yeah, Major 1 champions, newly picked up by Carmine Corp, Malabuka Mustache. They got to be feeling ecstatic, but you notice a huge changeup. They don't 50-50 that top chest like you typically see. Oh. And Zandy already gets that first knock onto Mustache, leaving Malabuka by himself. But honestly, I'm not too worried. I feel like I've seen this in last Major. Malabuka, historic run, gets the reboot multiple times. So even though his teammate goes down, it just makes for that much more of an exciting game already.
Look, there's a reason Malabuka has that Axe of Champions right now, farming up with it. What I'm thinking, though, is for Noxy right now, looking at the feed. Okay, Mustache went off right off the bat. Malabuka's wandering around as a solo. Can we find some shots? What is the game plan moving forward here? But there's still... well, I was going to say there still should be more action at Grim Gate, as I believe there was going to be 3 duos that were landing here, but it looks like one of them might have kind of backed off.
Yeah, it's Fredoxy and Triprim. They don't necessarily go straight in towards Grim Gates. You can kind of see them on the outskirts. They loot up. They try to get as much materials, as much resources as possible, because they know this season, unlike last, you can't really get these medallions right out of the gate. And you see Fredoxy going for a cheeky shot. This is the first, and you can see his loadout, not indicative of those close-range battles, so that's why you see him trying to disengage outward.
Got a little scared there. It's always the anticipation you feel lining up that sniper rifle shot. It can honestly just change your game if you're able to land a headshot, but there'll be more opportunities. This is the Grim Gate, so we have the River of Styx, which is that green water you're seeing now on the screen that grants you those dashes, just like the medallion does in this area. So very useful in terms of looting efficiently and getting ready for your rotates.
Yeah, and this is kind of how a lot of the contested POIs where the medallions of houses are. You can even see it go down over towards Olympus side of the map to where there's so much going on so early, and because you have to fight a full boss, you can't get it right out of the gate. But Axe Force Clownski, they don't have to worry about a medallion. They were able to get at least 1 elimination already, and they lay their second opponent back down. 1 of 5 games already gone for that team, so that kind of puts a different pressure if you don't necessarily get the win and you look at straight at the leaderboard.
On the corner of the map here, one of the worries for these drops is getting enough damage so you can focus on those rotations if zone does pull far. So having 2 eliminations already so quickly is going to grant a bit of comfortability in terms of making it towards the zone. We even heard Levin talk about it with Mini about the surge bases we've seen, especially with the bush bombs. There's a lot of opportunities to get those tags in the mid game if you're able to base up early. So looking at Pink and Vico here, they were in a little bit of an engagement, but it looks like they've decided against it.
Yeah, their impressive performance, the impressive run coming to this place, first place when it comes to series points on EU, and it was also a first place in week 1 of that last major. So this team is already progressing week by week, and they just really got to put it to the test. They did qualify for the grand finals in a big win, a big clutch by Pink. Just imagine if they could do that again here early, get the rest of the weekend off to scout your opponents. But Bevies, Pablo, Wingu, another team that people are looking at to qualify here in the first couple of games, and rightfully so. They've been making some noise, not just this season, but season after season after season here on the region.
I love this duo. Pablo, Bevy, we got to be careful. Vortex or Volko being close by. Bevies might find a huge opportunity here. It's 84. No crack yet. Tried to get a piece on his opponent. Actually is going to be able to do it. The 2 versus 1 now for Pablo and Bevies, giving them that advantage.
Yeah, you can see his teammates just almost nowhere in sight, getting caught by himself. Volko is just a little bit separated. That's where Pablo probably hears the audio, know he's around, and they're just going to go quickly on the chase, even peeking some shots through the window. Bars can't protect it there. Volko looking trapped as Pablo just continue to extend outward, but Bevies just takes so much damage. He gets knocked. That's what happens when you separate into 2 separate 1v1s. You give someone like Volko a chance to clutch up.
From the 2v1 to the 1 versus 1. The stress is on, the pressure that Pablo might be feeling now. He still has that HP and shield advantage, but the more time he takes, the more time for his opponent to heal up, to lock in, to get focused again. What do you do here, Jacob? Do you continue the 1 versus 1? Do you try and close it out? Or do you just take the card and disengage?
Yeah, it almost looks like Pablo's making that decision already. He's going to try to disengage, see him switching together some of his loot. But Volko with the high ground, he probably sees he has a little bit of advantage, but instead of just chasing down his opponent, he too has to go for that reboot. And even though the dust has settled, you still got to realize that if the zone did pull all over to this side of the map, teams are now beginning to rotate in. So they are on the clock when it comes to getting that reboot back.
Yeah, you can even see in the mini-map at the bottom right, these players do have the River of Sticks, so they can dash towards here very quickly if they hear anything that interests them, just like a reboot could potentially do. As Pablo is going to keep trying to just get that reboot up and up. But Volko is not going to let that one slide as he continues to apply that pressure. He has enough ammunition. He has enough HP and shield to take these peaks. All it takes, though, is that one big shot.
Yeah, and you're going to see that Pablo's just testing him. He's teasing him. I'm going to get the reboot. You have to go through all this to stop me. Trying to peek a little bit of a cheeky shot in there. Stretch it through. Volko doesn't fall for that one. And interesting enough, nobody is moving in on the distance, so it almost seems like they have all the time in the world, but Volko is turning the tables, trying to go for a bait. Peekaboo shot right through, not going to be able to land. Pablo is just quick on his toes to react in a defensive manner, and it's just a game of cat and mouse. Who's going to take the bait for this reboot?
The reboot 1v1, as now Volko says, my turn. I'm going to get my teammate back in the game, and Pablo now is forced to try and replace a wall here or look for an angle. The left angle is a little too risky. You want to have that right-hand peek. As now Pablo is saying, you know what? Volko's not pushing me. I'll take the reboot. It was a mistake potentially, though. Dropped out the 20 shield. Now the aggression continuing on through. Did he just get it, Jacob?
I think
was Volko able to pick up Vortexers? Vortexers are back in the game now. Once again, a 2 versus 1. But look at this play. Instead of just fighting directly, they're going to take their time to go back, loot up, make sure Vortexers has shield, has weapons, and has everything to give them the highest chance of taking the 2 versus 1. But Pablo realizes if he gives him that time, he's not going to be able to come out on top.
Yeah, that was just perfectly played on the other side by Volko. And for those of you guys don't know, once you start the reboot, it doesn't instantly go back down and restart. It keeps the progress, but when he fights the next, Misha trying to go ahead and battle back. It seems like they're getting sprayed. They're outside of zone, forced all the way down low into a lower layer in which they wanted. That's Sky, that Scroll on the other side, and not too many teams close by, but they're going to be the ones that try to gatekeep them out. So the longer this fight takes, it might turn into a no-win scenario.
Got to be careful here. There's also duels already based up at the Reckless Railways, so they can potentially look back here when the rotate comes through, as Sky Scroll realize, okay, I don't think it's worth it anymore. We got a bit of damage. We did some tags. Let's get the zone.
That's going to be kind of the name of the game, because up until this point, they've been going through 10 matches, simultaneous lobbies with everybody else that would make those weekly finals. So it's hard to really gain that consistency, a game plan. But now that they're here in this set final, Surge is going to be so important. In the qualifiers, it wouldn't turn on until zones 5, maybe zone 6. We might see that a bit earlier here today, which means teams might have to scramble to get the Surge that they're looking for. But back on over to Grim Gates, where we began realistically, and it's Turtle and Z-Andy. Even though they don't have that mythic loot just yet, you can see them just trying to stay by this location where they can regenerate those underworld dashes from the river sticks, and they're similar to the zone to where they can rotate right now as soon as they see the pool come in.
89 players currently up, Jacob. You can tell we're in the semifinals now as we switch back over to Vidil and Reason. I could have swore they just got an elimination, but there it is. Picked it up finally. Vidil, though, forced to heal up now. We did see Z-Andy and his duo partner take out Merstash at the start of the game. I believe they did get the Grim Gate coin as well. So even without those River of Sticks, we'll see if they're able to continue forwards. But for Vidil and Reason here on the edge of zone, after that elimination, I think they're kind of focused on making it in. I mean, 45 duos up, Jacob. This is a stacked lobby.
No, it definitely is. So now you got to start thinking, when that Surge does turn on, how below, how above that threshold are you? Are you out of zone? Are you in zone? So it is going to get real tricky once it does turn on. But you see the water bending ability from distance. Ping just trying to land as many shots as possible. No connection, but this is going to be the best shot he got due to the low damage drop-off rate, how accurate it actually is with those projectiles. And that's where you're going to see a lot of teams begin to utilize those pretty early on in these games.
You can see the Storm Surge thresholds as a reminder to see when it will appear, depending on how many players are remaining. I love the water bending mythic because you have so much range and unlimited ammunition. You can just keep applying pressure and kind of like poking at your opponents there. Just take a look at a replay here from Vico though, in the zone. Oof, nasty box. Able to pick up an Elim. Is it the same duo that they were fighting off spawn?
Yeah, that's sometimes what you happen when you know you can test a drop. You try to make that quick rotation, but your loot path can be very, very similar to those players contesting. So a lot of times you will kind of rotate parallel, mirror your opponent, which for some could be a blessing, others can be a curse, as Pink Vico. This is what's surprising me right now with how well and how consistent. You can see they don't really have a lot of HP between the two. Not a lot of heals. The double DMRs coming out of Pink. So you can see up until this point, they have had a rough road just to make it here. And with 45 teams still left alive, it is a tall task to ask to stay alive until those placement points start to appear.
Only 57% of games are won from the high ground in the qualifiers. But in the qualifiers, it wasn't that winner takes all format like we're seeing here in the semifinals. So I'm curious, Jacob, to see now, are we going to see more heal offs? What are we going to see in terms of strategies to try and secure that golden ticket to the grand finals? It is important to stay consistent and get top 25 on the leaderboard to stay in upper bracket. But what these players really want today is that win, is that victory royale. So we'll see kind of what ends up happening here in the late games. But for now, it's preparation is what these duos need to focus on.
Yeah, and with 87 people still left alive, they got to prepare for that storm surge to turn on in the next zone. Unless there's a lot of activity, we go down to 74 people. But at this point in time, 13 individual players need to go down when storm surge turns on before it turns off again. So being proactive at this stage of the game is going to be huge in order to get the damage. Or if you're saying go to the Marius, just box fighting to try to get 2 elims. But depending on how healthy those players actually are, it might not have been a ton when it comes to the overall surge. And on the other side, you can kind of see not too much to really take advantage of. They did get that 1 elimination, but when it comes to the loot, they weren't really able to get much out of it.
Yeah, I mean, Lusha Ping could be looking healthier, but I mean, it's not too bad, especially with the elimination. My concern is you saw how many surge bases there were just kind of almost together, which is going to make rotating for any of the players in the surrounding area a lot more difficult. Various though. Very now going from Surge Base to Rift Island here. Looks like it's going to be the first duo that's going to be able to take it. Potentially get that flag. Oh.
Just when you think you're at the highest point in the mountain, you have someone like Various Bro, aka Fire Bro, up at the top, just landing those cheeky shots. And that's the blessing of Rift Island. And wouldn't be surprised to see if too many teams begin to zip line, try to rift their way up here. Not necessarily to contest the flag, but to get the positioning on the side, just like you see Pink and Vico do, because it is inside of the zone, so they can start to gain their position there, look down towards the side, and try to get the surge that they need. But from a team that doesn't really want to contest to one that might feel a little brave, there's going to be 3 teams total, maybe even 4 on top of Rift Island now.
There's a whole party up here now. More action that I'm used to seeing on the Rift Island, especially that you don't get points anymore from capturing that flag. You get great positioning though, like we saw earlier on, to get shots onto people, even in surge bases. If they don't have those bush bombs to kind of hide behind, it can be a lot more difficult to take those peaks. But you can see even all the players in the surrounding area below the Rift Island. As a reminder, there are rifts that appear that you can box around and use for rotating as the zone continues to close. Cammy and Setty, one of the most consistent duos we've seen here on EU. But for this season, Jacob, I don't know. I'm curious to see how they might perform here in the semifinals. Oof, nice little DMR shot.
Yeah. Kind of felt the same. It's a team that you kind of know them for where they finish, but sometimes getting to that top finish like we know they can get, it is a little bit of a rocky road from slow starts to big finishes. We know they have the experience. See if they can pull it through, but Lays and Sky jump 70 below the damage threshold. This is where it is going to get tough because about 10 people still need to go down. So out healing it, especially with the heals that they have, is absolutely not going to be an option.
Flare Bay for that mobility. All the hard heals are bandages though. Duo does have a med kit, but it looks like right now they just need to get the zone 75 below. Now this is a position you really do not want to be in, especially here in 5th zone. You can see the amount of duos already on the edge, as now they're going to get closer and closer to Lucia here. Force the box fight. They need to end this quickly.
Yeah, already Storm Surge is now doing damage. The longer this one takes, he can only take about 2 ticks, but he goes down to the shot instead. The 2v1, Sky Jump, Lazen have now learned their lesson to get a little bit more active in the early game for Surge. And you can see Lucia and Pings, judging by the loadout, they have that Mythic DMR, so you gotta imagine they have the Zeus medallion along with them as well. So being able to survive that fight is huge and has so many different implications for the rest of their end game.
CZB Nathan now, though, kind of with that clutter of people on the edge of zone here under the Rift Island. Only 74 above. Not a comfortable position entirely to be in here. So they are kind of looking around, hunting to see where they can find some potential angles here. Dipping their toes in the river of sticks to get those dashes replenished. As now zone will start closing, so this should open up some opportunities to do a bit of damage.
And CZB and Nathan is a team that's been so consistent. At least 17 top 10s, 7 of those were top 5s, even a couple second places. 87 above, it's probably all part of their game plan. Try to go through unnoticed, escape danger, and you can see everybody using those rifts just to make it in towards the zone. They found Zandy, Turtle, and another team that has some height that they want to take advantage of it and take it as their own, but they're not in the zone just yet. So even though they have this position secured, they still have to move forward before they find the safety of the zone.
Great position to look back and get those tags on the duos rotating in through the rifts, but as they were one of the duos that took one, everybody had already landed once they got to this position, except for that one duo that's trying to make their way back in. But be careful, the chop comes through, dash is forced. And Zandy now forced to kind of hold off as Turtle replenishes that shield that they lost. Hopefully they have something more than the chug splashes, but I believe they don't, so they will have to use that just to replenish Turtle's shield.
Yeah, throughout this game, it just seems like they've had scraps. Really barely anything the few times that we have seen them. Let's see if they can pick it up here with Snaz and Dendeef. 187 above the damage threshold. Rotation to go, and you can see that the medallion is down. The Grim Gate medallion is actually down at this point in time. You see a bunch of teams over in that direction trying to scuffle for it, but Pixel is just trying to heal. No! He canceled the med kit while 50 below and just taking so much damage before he has to go forward and gets taken out altogether. Those are the little mistakes that cost you big time, Zakata.
It was still difficult, given the benefit of the doubt. He was a solo, fully healed duo. I was just waiting for him to move, so it was kind of a matter of time, but nice DMR shots. You can see how many duos are using the DMR. It's more than in the qualifiers here. As you can see, the lobbies are a lot more stacked, so Surge is just that much more important, and being able to get those tags consistently is key. Cami Setty, though, even though they have those tags, still with a little bit of trouble rotating, losing quite a bit of shield from the players taking pop shots. Everybody is extra aware now, trying to use every opportunity possible to do a little bit of damage. Raban Fastroki now not looking too healthy as well, probably due to having to find those tags. Medkit in hand being used. Just one more big pot left in the inventory. But hopefully here they can get a bit of damage as they're only 84 above.
Yeah, and while Setty and Cammy kind of went in towards Snooty to kind of re-farm up, grab as much loot, you can see Fastroki and Roban just on the side of the mountain trying to get Surge if anybody's swimming in. You can see why. They were down below the threshold, got to 22, and now they're kind of on that line trying to figure out where they're going to get just one shot. It's really all that's needed. And Roban just simultaneously moving deeper and deeper into zone while Fastroki is the one getting the damage. Spots out another team, lands a nice shot on a Gripe. And you can see not necessarily getting aggressive to try to finish off the elimination because he did his job. He was just looking for damage.
It was 18 below. Now 78 above. It's above, Jacob, but it's not a position that's going to make you feel entirely comfortable. You have to be careful with everybody now looking for tags. The danger levels keep increasing. Caution as the zone also pulled further north, so they have a long ways to rotate after they get out of this position.
Yeah, a max rotation, and you can see all these teams that were rotating towards Snooty steps. You notice one that is not there anymore. Setty Cammy, they made that quick rotation out. Train moving in on the mini map as well. Might give some a free rotation, but others, just like Vanyak and Swizz here, got a far distance to cover, probably even max pull, and they got a team to go through. Drop the shields down, and even though he does have minis, it just means he can't replenish back up to 200 effective shield and HP on this rotation.
You can see everybody now on the mini map at the bottom right starting to already rotate. They were going for the tags, but instantly decided it's too risky. Even a train is pulling through half the players. As a 108, huge shot from Vanyak. putting them above the threshold now, allowing them to get a bit more time to keep on rotating through.
And he knows there's only one other exit there. Jake's there, kind of boxed up, along with Twy. Really no movement there as Vaniac and Swizzy just trying to make their way forward, but he gets jumped on into the box. That's Twy who instantly gets taken down. Jakey's going to be left by himself, but now it's a 2v1 situation, and for Vaniac and Swizzy, that was almost best case scenario. Didn't give them all the loot in the world that they needed, but it gave them something because look how far they're able to continue moving forward.
Swizzy hitting some massive shots, saved Vaniac there. As now they're so close, but the players already boxed in are looking back, taking those shots. You have to be careful. Vaniac as well now forced to pop some minis, low on HP. Flowberry used for that momentum boost. But you can see Fordoxy and Trip right there on the edge. All it's going to take is one edit and some shots, quickly building up those triple metal boxes. And it looks like they've made it in, but Vaniac is split up. Is he going to be able to make it back to Swizzy? That's what I'm wondering.
Tino, Noah. Marius goes down, and you can see why they fought that fight down on Surge. Something I wouldn't have expected Sangil to Marius to be, and especially with how aggressive they can be at the drop of a dime. But sometimes it's game one. You learn your mistakes as the day progresses, but with 19 teams still left alive, we got a golden ticket to the grand final still to give out for one team in this game. Trippin' and Fordoxy. You can kind of see them making sure that they have that elevation. In these end games, Takata, you don't want to be the team ultimate low ground too early.
I feel like so many duos now are low on loot, low on heals, shields. They've gotten those eliminations like Veno here, but they've lost their duo partner. Tayson is down, forced to clutch it up as solos, forced to look and hunt for those opportunities. Nice shots coming through, but I don't think damage is the problem right now for Veno. It's trying to figure out how he can replenish some of those materials, how he can last longer in this late game.
Yeah, I'll say luckily for him, he did have that Flowberry Fizz. Two different ones to be exact. You can see him staying away from that ultimate low ground. Mappy on the other side. Veno sees it as a green light, but he takes a big shot. Bites off just a little bit more than he could chew on that last one, but gets coned off by the players above. But Veno just quick to react at almost every turn, and luckily he has two of those Flowberry Fizz, so gathering that shield isn't going to be too much of a worry, but you can see he's going to stagger it, wait for the zone to start to move before he finishes off the rest of his Flowberry Fizz and starts his next rotation.
He's going to have to hunt here for a quick get in. An impact to replenish what he needs. Right now up above, though. Looks like it's Vidil and Resin on the high ground. Will they be able to maintain it as Zone has pulled back? This is great news for the duo. They will be able to conserve a lot of materials here. As you can see them getting ready to pop that Flowberry. Cami Setty, though, choosing to play completely low ground here. And I honestly think this could work out if the focus doesn't go to them. They have to time this perfectly, though.
Yeah, they do. You can see they're just one of the only teams down there in front ahead of zone. For now, it's going to be easy, but as more and more notice that it's almost open territory, they're going to move in that direction, but Cam and Setty have different things in mind. They don't want to be toward that ultimate low ground. They're trying to catch teams off guard, and there goes Swizzy on the receiving end of the water-bending ability. So much damage being ripped off in the blink of an eye, but luckily for him, he can take these few seconds, he can stagger, use the Flowberry Fizz before he makes this next rotation over.
Swizzy looking incredibly healthy in terms of loot and everything, honestly. On the contrary, though, Veno still now 0 builds. Flowberry being popped to replenish that shield, but he needs to find an elimination. Was playing backside to hunt for anything possible. Needs to connect the big shot, though. Mappy right below him. Players rotating above. It's 41. It's a crack. Unable to get close enough, though, as now all it's going to take, Jacob, is one big shot, but he's unable to connect.
So many players, Veno just did damage, taking their shields down, just weren't able to finish it off. But high ground has been contested. Cami, Setty, they're able to get a knock onto Vidil, forcing Reason down, forcing him back. High ground has been overtaken, and in game one, the Invitational champions, the runners-up for the Global Championship, have found themselves on the high ground.
This is huge. Conserving loot, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They know their opponents are low on mats, or low on heals, or low on loot because of how strong of Surge we had previously. And now all they have to do is close it out from above. They have the medkits for heal off. They have both players up. They have everything they need except for that golden ticket. All it takes is the VR for Doxy, though. Might not let that happen. Medallion acquired. Dashes in front of zone. 2 eliminations to his name, and he's still going strong.
Almost the saving grace, picking up that medallion, but it only can last so long. Mappy instantly takes him out. Medallion changes hand yet again, but from duo to duo, Chicho goes down. Trulax under pressure. He falls all the same. Noah and Chino are just putting up a masterclass here with 6 eliminations in the end game.
Both with full HP and shield. They could close this out as well, taking out Moppy. Now it looks like it's a 2 versus 2. It's height versus low. Noah and his duo down below. Cammy Setty up above. It's going to end in a brawl.
And a huge amount of pressure coming down from above. Setty with the War Force, the water bang ability, which will never run out of ammo. The interesting thing is neither one of these teams have a ton of heals, so this won't go down to a long heal off. As long as Cammy stays alive, he could seal the deal in the bag, but he's passing it over. They want to go for the fight.
I believe Cammy only has 11 builds to work with. I don't think they have enough to play the heal off. They just don't have enough builds, but this Ridge might be their savior. This might just end at a 2 versus 2. Will they drop from above? Will they keep taking pop shots? The action is going to be coming soon.
This is really going to go down to the wire until one team gets sprayed out. We're moving away from the mountain. A lot of the builds being expended. Down goes Cammy. Down goes Setty. Now it's going to come down to this with no real builds left. First shot's going to be fired. Setty goes down, but Cammy clutches up big to take the game and advance to the EU Grand Finals.
Cammy clutching it up in the last moments, dropped from above, but that's no issue for the Invitational champions, making sure to secure that first golden ticket and saying, you know who we are. Veterans of Fortnite competitive, do not forget our name. Do not count us out. They're our first duo that has qualified directly to the grand finals.
This is their 3rd year, Takada. They're going on their 3rd year of being superstars, being one of the teams to beat in the region. Please count me how many teams, how many players have had such dominance, and it's Cammy. Yet again, multiple eliminations with that water bending ability. And when things finally came down, Setty with a huge shot, but it was Cammy with the mythic gatekeeper shotgun, tearing up the playing field and taking a huge game 1 for him and his duo.
You could tell they kind of wanted to play that heal off. I mean, they had the med kits, they had what they needed, but they were just missing the materials, and they almost kind of got caught off guard there in those last moments, both getting dropped down, had to take out the shotguns midair and hope they connected the shots, but that's exactly what they were able to do.
Yeah, but we know that they have advanced to the grand finals, but after game 1, I'm going to throw it over to Frankie, Mini, and Levin to let us know what the leaderboard looks like.